The swamp of death, the night on planet Xiren, was dark and heavy. Thick fog floated above the poisonous swamp. The swamp made strange noises, like it was alive. Bubbles popped. Green smoke rose from the water, and the smell of acid filled the air. In the middle of this swamp, an alien woman was sinking. Her name was Lyra. Her skin was silver, and her hair glowed blue in the moonlight. She was tied with metal chains. Her eyes showed fear as she struggled, but the chains pulled her down slowly. The swamp water burned her skin. She winced in pain, but there was no one around to help. Above her, a strange red moon shone, casting shadows on her face. The sound of her heavy breathing mixed with the swamp's strange sounds. "Help," she whispered, but her voice was weak. Suddenly, a shadow moved. At the edge of the swamp, a figure was standing there, hidden in the fog. Lyra could not see clearly. Was it friend or enemy? The figure stepped closer. It was a human man, tall, wearing a black jacket, boots covered in mud, and a strange device on his wrist that blinked with a blue light. His face looked serious but calm. His name was Jake. Jake looked around carefully. He was not supposed to be here. The poisonous swamp could kill a human in minutes. But something about this moment pulled him forward. His eyes met Lyra's for a second. He saw fear in her face, but also a strange hope. Without thinking too much, Jake jumped into the swamp. The water burned his skin. His legs felt weak, but he pushed forward. Lyra's head was almost under the water now. She could not keep fighting much longer. Her breath was short, her strength gone. Jake reached her just in time. He grabbed the chains around her arms. The metal was hot and sharp. He pulled hard, ignoring the pain. Slowly, he lifted her above the surface. Lyra gasped for air. "Why are you helping me?" she asked weakly. Jake didn't answer. He pulled her towards the edge of the swamp. His body felt heavy. His lungs burned from the swamp gas, but he kept moving. Behind them, the swamp made a loud noise, a deep growl. The bubbles in the water grew bigger and faster. Jake dragged Lyra out and fell on the ground, breathing hard. For a few seconds, they just lay there. Then, Jake stood up. He looked down at Lyra. "You're lucky I found you," he said. But his voice had no smile. It was serious, almost cold. Lyra sat up slowly. Her body was shaking. Her silver skin had dark burns now. "Who are you?" she asked. Jake did not reply at first. He looked at the swamp. Strange lights started to glow inside the fog. Red eyes, far away but getting closer. "We don't have time," Jake finally said. He grabbed Lyra's arm and helped her stand. "They will come for us." "Who?" Lyra asked again, confused and scared. Jake gave her a quick glance. "The ones who put you here." Lyra's heart sank. She remembered it was her own people. Who chained her here? Why did they want her dead? She looked at Jake carefully now. He was human, but why was he on Xiren? Humans did not travel here. It was too dangerous. As if reading her mind, Jake said, "I know why they wanted you dead, Lyra. And that's why I'm here." Before Lyra could ask more, a loud screech came from the swamp. Red lights moved quickly through the fog. The ground shook slightly. "They found us," Jake said, his voice tense. He pulled a small silver device from his belt. It blinked and made a soft humming sound. "We need to go now." Lyra took a deep breath. She felt weak, but she knew she had no choice. Whatever Jake's secret was, he just saved her life. Together, they moved into the fog, away from the swamp. But behind them, something dark and dangerous was following as they disappeared into the mist. The swamp let out another growl, loud, deep, and angry. The night on Xiren was just beginning, and the real danger was still waiting. A stranger's rescue the swamp was behind them now. But the danger was not over. Lyra's legs were weak. Her skin still burned where the poison had touched her. But she kept walking beside Jake, the mysterious human who had pulled her from the swamp's deadly grip. The fog around them was thick. Strange sounds came from the shadows, hissing, clicking, and something that sounded like soft whispers. Jake kept looking over his shoulder. He held a small device in his hand. It blinked blue, then red. His face looked worried now, not calm like before. Lyra finally spoke. "Why did you save me?" Her voice was soft, but filled with questions. Jake didn't stop walking. He kept scanning the fog ahead. Then he said, "Because I know who you are, and because they will come for both of us now." Lyra froze for a moment. Who will come? For us. Jake stopped too. He looked straight into her eyes. Your people. Lyra felt cold inside. Her own people had sent her to die. And now they were hunting her again. Jake stepped closer. He spoke in a low voice. "You were not just a prisoner, Lyra. You hold a secret, a dangerous one. That's why they chained you in that swamp." Before Lyra could answer, a loud noise echoed through the fog, a sharp screech, followed by a deep growl. The ground under their feet trembled. Jake grabbed her arm. "Move. They're close." They started running. Branches cracked under their boots. Strange plants brushed their skin, glowing briefly as they passed. The air smelled of acid and ash, suddenly. Jake stopped and pulled Lyra down behind a large rock. "Stay low," he whispered. Through the fog, red lights appeared again. They moved like eyes, scanning the ground. Strange shapes followed behind the light-stall creatures with sharp claws and glowing armor. They made no sound except for the soft clicking of their jaws. Lyra held her breath. The creatures passed slowly, almost close enough to touch. The red lights flickered as they moved deeper into the fog. When it was safe, Jake stood up. "They're called the Seekers," he explained quietly. "They hunt anyone who escapes. But I know how to avoid them. For now." Lyra looked at Jake. Carefully. "You speak like you've done this before." "You're human. Why are you even on Xiren?" Jake hesitated. He glanced at his blinking device, then back at Lyra. "I'm not just here to save you," he said finally. "I was sent because of what you know." Lyra's mind raced. What secret was Jake talking about? Why did everyone think she was so dangerous? Before she could ask more, Jake pointed ahead. A dark structure was hidden in the fog, a ruined tower, covered in vines. "We can hide there for a while," he said. They moved carefully toward the tower. Inside, it was dark and cold. Broken machines and old control panels lined the walls. Dust hung in the air like a ghost. Jake checked the door, then turned to Lyra. "You need to trust me now," he said, sitting down. "They will keep hunting us until they get what they want." Lyra sat opposite him, her heart still beating fast. "What do they want from me?" she asked. Jake leaned closer. His face looked tired but serious. "You know something, Lyra, about the weapon under this swamp. Something your leaders want hidden forever. That's why they betrayed you." Lyra's eyes widened. Yes, she did know. But before she could say anything, a loud crash shook the tower. The door burst open. The Seekers had found them. Jake jumped up, pulling out a small silver weapon from his belt. "Stay behind me," he shouted. The fog rushed inside as the Seekers stepped through the broken door. Their red eyes glowed brighter now. Lyra's mind was spinning with fear and questions. Why did Jake care so much? What was the secret weapon under the swamp? And how could they possibly escape now? The fight was about to begin. The hunters in the fog, the ruined tower, shook as the Seekers stepped inside. Their sharp claws scraped the metal floor, and their red eyes glowed in the darkness. The fog followed them, swirling around their feet like a living thing. Jake pulled. Lyra behind a fallen wall. His small silver weapon hummed softly in his hand. Lyra crouched next to him, heart pounding. "Don't move," Jake whispered. "Don't breathe too loud. They can't see us, but they can hear us." Lyra nodded silently. Her body ached. Her skin still burned from the poison swamp, but her mind was racing. Why were these deadly hunters chasing her so desperately? And why did Jake, a human, risk everything to save her? Outside the broken wall, the Seekers sniffed the air. They let out a low clicking sound, almost like they were talking to each other. One of them raised a strange device that flashed blue light across the room. Lyra froze. The blue light passed right over them, then stopped. It was pointing straight at Jake. Jake's eyes narrowed. Without wasting a second, he jumped up and fired. His weapon, a flash of white light, exploded from the barrel, hitting the Seeker's device. The creature screeched in rage as sparks flew. "Run!" Jake shouted Bell Lyra, and Jake dashed out of their hiding spot. The Seekers roared behind them, chasing them through the ruined tower. Walls crumbled around them as Jake led the way through narrow hallways filled with dust and old wires. The tower was ancient. It had been abandoned for years. Strange alien symbols glowed faintly on the walls. Lyra felt like the walls were watching them as they ran. Finally, they reached a hidden door. Jake slammed his hand on a small panel beside it. The door slid open with a loud hiss. "Inside," Jake ordered. They both jumped through, and the door shut behind them, locking with a heavy clang. Darkness. For a moment, it was completely silent, except for their heavy breathing. Then dim lights flickered on, revealing a long tunnel. The walls were smooth metal, lined with strange cables and symbols. The air felt colder here. Lyra looked around, confused. "Where are we?" Jake took a deep breath and wiped sweat from his face. "An old escape tunnel. The Seekers won't find us here. Not yet." Lyra stepped closer. "Tell me the truth now, Jake. Why are you really here? Who sent you?" Jake hesitated. Then, in a quiet voice, he said, "I was sent to find you. Because you know where it is." "Where what is?" Lyra asked. Jake looked straight at her. "The weapon buried under this swamp. A weapon that could destroy not just this planet, but maybe others too." Lyra's heart sank. She remembered now. She had been a scientist. She had discovered something terrible buried deep under the swamp, a powerful machine built by an ancient race. Her leaders told her to keep it secret, but when she refused, they betrayed her and left her to die. And now this human Jake wanted that weapon too. "But why would you want it?" she whispered. "Why would your people care?" Jake didn't answer. Instead, he touched a button. On his wrist device, small hologram appeared in the air between them, a map of the swamp. And at the very center, a red, blinking dot. "That's where it is," Jake said. "And that's where we're going." Before Lyra could argue, a deep rumble shook the tunnel. Dust fell from the ceiling. The Seekers found the entrance. Jake said quickly, "We need to move, now." But as they ran down the tunnel, something strange happened. The lights flickered, and then went out completely. Total darkness, and from the shadows ahead came a low, slow growl. Not from the Seekers. Something else was waiting in the tunnel. Something ancient. Something far more dangerous. Jake stopped, holding his weapon up. "Lyra?" he whispered. "Whatever that is, it's not supposed to be here." Secrets revealed. Darkness filled the tunnel. Jake held his silver weapon tightly, his finger near the trigger. Lyra stood behind him, her heart racing, her breath short. The growl ahead was not from the Seekers. This was something older, deeper, more dangerous. In the silence, they heard a scraping sound. It was coming closer. Jake tapped his wrist device. A small blue light appeared above them, weak but enough to see the narrow tunnel walls. The creature appeared. It was huge, long, slimy, with many legs like a giant centipede. Its body glowed faint green in the dark. Its eyes were hollow sockets, but its jaws clicked loudly as it moved. Lyra gasped softly. Jake whispered, "I've only heard stories about this. A guardian? They say it's been here since before the swamp even existed." The guardian hissed. It was guarding something, and it did not want anyone to pass. Jake raised his weapon, but Lyra quickly put her hand on his arm. "No," she said, "you can't fight it. I know why it's here." Jake looked at her, confused. "You know," Lyra nodded slowly. She stepped forward carefully. Her voice was steady now. This tunnel, this guardian, they were part of the ancient defenses. When I worked as a scientist, I read old records. The guardian is not just protecting this path, it's protecting the truth. Jake's expression changed. What truth? Lyra turned to him, her eyes calm but sad. "The truth about the weapon," she said softly. "It was not built by enemies. It was built by my own ancestors. The leaders lied to us all." Jake stared at her, shocked. All this time, she continued, "They told us it was an alien threat buried here. But really, it was our own creation. A machine of mass destruction built thousands of years ago. My people buried it, locked it away, and erased the history. But when I found out, they decided I had to die." Jake felt cold inside. The leaders of Xiren had buried their shame, and tried to bury Lyra too. Lyra stepped closer to the guardian. She slowly raised her arms. The guardian stopped hissing. It lowered its many legs and moved aside. Jake couldn't believe it. The creature understood her. Lyra turned back to Jake. "It listens to the blood of Xiren, and I am still one of them." The path was now open. But before they could move, Jake hesitated. His mind was spinning. His mission was clear: recover the weapon. But now he knew the truth. This was not just about saving Earth from a dangerous alien device. This was about protecting a dark secret and helping Xiren's leaders keep their lies hidden. Lyra saw the conflict in his eyes. "You were sent to kill me after you got the weapon, weren't you?" she asked quietly. Jake didn't speak. His silence was the answer. Lyra felt a pain inside her chest. She trusted him, or wanted to, but he was just another tool sent to use her. Even so, she didn't run. Instead, she spoke calmly. "If you still want to finish your mission, Jake, the weapon lies ahead. But know this, if it wakes, it won't. Just destroy Xiren. It will destroy everything." Jake swallowed hard. His hand shook slightly. For the first time, he was doubting his orders. The ground shook again. Behind them, they could hear the Seekers breaking into the tunnel. Time was running out. Jake lowered his weapon. "We go together," he said finally. "But this time, no more lies." Lyra nodded. There was a silent understanding between them now, side by side. They stepped past the guardian. Ahead of them, the tunnel opened into a vast underground chamber. In the center was a huge metallic structure, covered in vines glowing faintly, pulsing like a heartbeat. The ancient weapon, it was real, and it was alive as they walked toward it. A deep mechanical voice echoed in the chamber. Identity confirmed. "Welcome, Lyra of Xiren. Awaiting activation." Lyra stopped in her tracks. Jake looked at her. "Can you control it?" he asked. Lyra took a deep breath. "I don't know," she said softly. "But if I can't, everything will end tonight." The poisonous depths, the giant chamber was silent. except for the soft hum of the ancient weapon. It looked like a massive heart, pulsing gently, vines wrapped around its metal shell. Strange symbols glowed on its surface, symbols Lyra had seen before in old books but never fully understood. The air was heavy. It smelled of metal, earth, and something darker. Behind them, far back in the tunnel, they could hear the Seekers. Coming, their clicks and growls were getting louder. Time was running out. Jake turned to Lyra. His voice was low but tense. "Can you shut this thing down before they get here?" Lyra stepped forward slowly. Her silver fingers touched the cold metal of the weapon. Soon as she made contact, blue lights raced across its surface. The weapon spoke again in that deep, mechanical voice. "System recognizes genetic match. Please enter command. Activate or deactivate." Lyra's heart raced. It was giving her the choice. She turned back to Jake. "It's waiting for my command, but I don't know what will happen if I choose wrong." Jake took a deep breath. His face showed real worry now, not just for his mission but for what this machine could do. Suddenly, the ground beneath their feet trembled. The chamber floor cracked open. A dark pool of poisonous swamp water began to rise from below. The weapon was sinking, and soon the entire chamber would be flooded. Lyra gasped. "It's sinking back into the poisonous depths. If it goes down, no one will be able to reach it again." Jake stepped closer to her. "Then decide quickly. Activate or destroy it." Lyra hesitated. Her mind flashed back to her people. The betrayal, the lies, but also the truth. This weapon was meant to protect Xiren long ago, before it became too dangerous. Just as she was about to speak, the chamber walls shook violently, and from the swamp water below, something rose, a creature, huge, older than the swamp itself. Its body was made of bone and slime, with long tentacles that glowed with green poison. Its hollow eyes stared straight at them. Jake froze. "What?" Face went pale. "That's the guardian of the depths. The last protector. It's waking up because we're here." The creature let out a terrible roar. It swam through the air, its tentacles crashing down near them. Jake fired his silver weapon, but the blasts had no effect. The creature was immune. Lyra shouted, "It's not just a beast, it's part of the weapon itself. It's here to stop anyone from making a choice." The poisonous water rose higher. The creature lunged at them. Jake grabbed Lyra's arm, pulling her behind the weapon for cover. "We can't fight it," he said. "Can you command the machine to stop it?" Lyra closed her eyes. She took a deep breath. Her hand pressed flat against the machine's glowing symbols. In a calm voice, she said, "Deactivate." For a second, nothing happened. Then, the chamber's hum changed. The creature froze in midair. Its body began to crack and crumble. Turning to ash, the poisonous water stopped rising. Jake watched in amazement as the weapon slowly shut down, its glow fading. Lyra stepped back, exhausted. It worked. She whispered, but just as she spoke, the chamber lights flickered again. The weapon's deep voice returned, but this time it sounded different. Almost alive. Deactivation incomplete. Secondary protocol engaged. User must remain present until final shutdown. Lyra froze. She read the meaning immediately. "It won't fully shut down unless I stay here with it," she said, her voice shaking. Jake's eyes widened. "You mean you have to stay behind, alone?" Lyra nodded slowly. The Seekers' noises were close now. They were almost at the chamber entrance. Jake looked torn. He could leave her, escape through the tunnels, complete his mission without her. But something inside him changed. He grabbed her hand. "Then I stay too," he said firmly. "We finish this together." Lyra looked at him, surprised, but grateful. Above them, the Seekers burst into the chamber. The weapon glowed weakly now, the poisonous water around it still. Jake raised his weapon. Lyra prepared her final command. Together, they stood as the chamber prepared to close. Forever. Betrayal at midnight. The chamber was dark now. Only the weak glow of the ancient weapon lit the walls. The Seekers stood at the entrance. Their red eyes locked on Jake and Lyra. The poisonous swamp water was still rising slowly, covering the floor. Lyra and Jake stood side by side, facing the Seekers. For a moment, no one moved. Then, something unexpected happened. Jake slowly lowered his silver weapon. His face changed. His calm look was gone now. There was something cold in his eyes. Lyra noticed it immediately. "What are you doing?" she whispered, her heart suddenly tight. Jake stepped forward, raising his hands in the air, but not in surrender to the Seekers. Instead, he spoke loud and clear. "I brought her here, as promised," Jake said. "She's yours now." Kay froze in shock. Betrayal. The Seekers made a clicking noise, almost like a laugh. They stepped back, allowing Jake to walk toward them. Lyra couldn't believe it. You worked for them all along?" she asked, her voice breaking. Jake didn't look at her. His face was hard. "This was my mission from the beginning," he said coldly. "They sent me to the swamp to pretend to save you, so you would trust me, so I could lead you straight to the weapon." Lyra felt weak. Her knees almost gave out. All this time, his rescue, his help, it was a lie. She wanted to shout, but no words came. The Seekers moved forward again. One of them raised a strange device, pointing it at the ancient weapon. Suddenly, the machine spoke once more. "Warning. Final shutdown requires authorized user presence." The Seekers turned to Jake. One of them hissed, "You must stay, too." It said in a strange, robotic voice. Jake's eyes widened. He didn't expect this. He thought he could hand over Lyra and escape. But the machine needed him now, too. Panic flashed across his face for the first time. Lyra saw it, and she felt a strange calm inside her. For all his planning, Jake was trapped too. "You thought you could leave," Lyra said quietly, standing up straight now. "But this chamber, this machine, it doesn't care about your deals." The Seekers hissed again, angry. The ground trembled. The poisonous water rose higher, touching Jake's boots. The ancient weapon glowed brighter. Jake's wrist device beeped loudly. Warning, collapse imminent. Lyra stepped forward. "If I must stay," she said softly, "then so will you." Jake looked at her, something like regret in his eyes now. "I didn't want this," he whispered, but Lyra didn't. "Listen, you used me. You betrayed me at midnight, when I needed you most, and now we end this together." The Seekers began to retreat slowly. Even they could feel the chamber preparing to collapse. Jake turned to run too, but Lyra grabbed his arm. "Stay with me," she said firmly. Jake froze. The ancient weapon spoke its final words. Final lock confirmed. Shutdown complete. The machine's lights faded. The poisonous water stopped rising, but the walls began to crack and fall. Rocks tumbled from above. Lyra and Jake looked at each other. No more lies, no more running. They were trapped together. By Jake's betrayal, and by Lyra's choice, the Seekers vanished into the fog as the entire chamber collapsed, burying the weapon, the machine. And their last hope, above ground, the swamp fell silent again. But deep below, two figures remained locked forever. The last stand deep below the swamp. The chamber was breaking apart. Heavy rocks crashed down. Cracks raced across the walls. Dust filled the air, and the glow of the ancient weapon slowly faded. But Lyra and Jake were still alive. They stood together. In the darkness, water rising around them again, but this time there was no fight. No running. Jake finally spoke. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I didn't expect this. I thought I could escape." His voice was soft now, no longer cold, no longer hiding behind lies. Lyra turned to him, her silver eyes glowing, faintly in the dark. "You saved me from the swamp," she said quietly, "but then you led me here, to betray me. Why?" Jake lowered his head. His hand touched the cracked wall beside them. "I was ordered to," he admitted. Earth's leaders, they knew about this weapon for a long time. They wanted it. They used me. Lyra's heart softened for a moment. She saw it now. Jake wasn't just a cold agent. He was used to, just like her. Suddenly, the ancient weapon spoke again. But this time, its voice was different. Softer, almost human. "One option remains," it said, "Lyra." And Jake froze. The weapon continued. "One of you can leave. One must stay. Forever." Lyra and Jake looked at each other. It was offering them a choice. A painful choice. Lyra stepped forward first. "I will stay," she said quickly. "This is my world's fault. I must pay this price." But Jake grabbed her arm gently. "No," he said, "you have a future. Your people may still need you. Maybe to fix what they did." Lyra shook her head. "They betrayed me, left me to die. Why should I care?" Jake met her gaze. "Because you're better than them." For a moment, silence filled the chamber. The weapon's voice spoke again. Choice required. Time ending. Lyra felt a tear slip down her cheek, glowing blue like her skin. Then, Jake made his decision. He stepped forward. "I will stay," he said clearly. "Let her go." Lyra gasped. Jake smiled softly, his first true smile. "I came here for the wrong reasons," he said, "but I will finish this the right way." The weapon responded immediately. Choice accepted. Preparing exit path for user, Lyra. A beam of soft blue light appeared in front of Lyra. It was a way out. She hesitated, then stepped into it. As the light surrounded her, she looked back one last time. Jake stood alone now, his figure fading into the shadows as the chamber began to collapse completely. His final words echoed softly, "Go, Lyra. Live for both of us." And then the light took her above ground. The poisonous swamp was quiet. The fog lifted for the first time in years, and at the edge of the swamp, Lyra appeared, her body weak but alive. She fell to her knees, tears in her eyes. She looked at the sky. Jake was gone. The ancient weapon was buried forever. The seekers vanished. Lyra was free, but her heart was heavy. She knew one thing. This was not the end. This was the beginning of a new life. One where she would make sure her people never hid the truth again. She whispered softly to the wind, "Thank you, Jake." And far below, in the ruins of the chamber, the ancient weapon slept at last, silent, waiting for all eternity.